Have you ever looked at the stock market and just felt totally overwhelmed? It feels like this massive, chaotic universe of companies. But what if I told you there's a map? Well, in this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to do. Give you that map, a clear guide to how the entire market is put together.
I mean, think about it. There are over 58,000 public companies out there. How on earth do investors even begin to sort through all that? It sounds impossible, right? But there's a system, a kind of secret language that pros use to bring order to all that chaos.
And that system is called the Global Industry Classification Standard, or GICS for short. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like the Dewey Decimal System you'd find in a library, but for companies. It groups them based on their core business, so you're always comparing apples to apples.
Now, this wasn't just some random idea. According to the Database of Business Ethics, this whole system was meticulously designed back in 1999 by two absolute giants in the financial world, MSCI and S&P Global. So this is the official playbook, the global standard that everyone uses to navigate the market.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to learn how to actually read this map. Then, we'll explore its three main territories: the needs, the wants, and the foundation. And finally, we'll see why this map is such a crucial tool for any investor.
All right, first things first, we need to clear something up. People often use the word sector and industry like they're the same thing, but
Sector is the biggest, broadest category you can have. Using our map analogy, it's like an entire continent. Think healthcare. But an industry is way more specific. It's like a single country on that continent, like pharmaceuticals. So one is the big picture, the other is a focused piece of it. It's a super common mix-up. So remember, continent versus country.
You start with the 11 main sectors, which then break down into 25 industry groups, then 74 industries, and finally, all the way down to 163 super-specific sub-industries. For our purposes, we're going to focus on those 11 high-level sectors.
All right, let's start exploring our first territory, the defensive sectors. I call these the needs. Just think about it. These are the things you and I have to buy whether the economy is soaring or in a slump. That consistent demand makes them, well, more defensive against big economic swings.
first up is consumer staples. As MSCI defines it, these are your absolute essentials. The industries here include things like food and drug retailing, beverages, and household products. The Motley Fool points out classic examples like Coca-Cola in the beverages industry or Procter & Gamble in household products. I mean, you're always going to need toilet paper and toothpaste, right?
Next up in the needs category is the healthcare sector. And this one is huge. It covers everything from drug makers to hospitals to insurance companies. Key industries you'll find here are pharmaceuticals, healthcare equipment, and health insurance. We're talking about massive companies like United Health Group in insurance and the pharmaceutical powerhouse Johnson & Johnson.
And the last of our defensive sectors is utilities. Pretty simple, right? These are the companies that keep the lights on and the water running. The industries are exactly what you'd expect: electric utilities, water utilities, and even renewable electricity. You probably know them from the names on your monthly bills, like Duke Energy or Consolidated Edison. Okay, let's travel to our next major territory, the cyclical sectors. These are the wants. When the economy is good and people feel confident, they spend money here. But when times get tough, spending in these areas is often the first thing to get cut. They follow the economic cycle.
The perfect example of a want is the consumer discretionary sector. The database of business ethics puts it perfectly. These are items that are not necessary for survival. We're talking industries like automobiles, hotels and restaurants, and specialty retail. That new car, that vacation, that fancy dinner, it all lives here. You'll find giants like Amazon in retail and McDonald's in the restaurant industry.
And then we've got the absolute engine of our modern world, the information technology sector. This is a massive category with industries ranging from software to technology hardware to the all-important semiconductors. As the Motley Fool highlights, this is home to some of the biggest companies on the planet, like Apple, a leader in technology hardware, and NVIDIA, which dominates the semiconductor industry.
But here's a really important thing to remember. This map changes. It evolves. A great example of this comes from a paper by Todd Owens at ScholarWorks at UIRAK. He explains how back in 2018, the map was redrawn. Some of the biggest tech names, like Google, were moved out of the tech sector because their main business wasn't just tech anymore. They were put into a brand new sector.
And that brand new sector is communication services.
It's basically home to two major groups, the old-school telecommunication services, like your phone company, and the ever-changing media and entertainment industry. This is where you now find today's media titans, like Meta in social media, and Alphabet, the parent of Google and YouTube, in interactive media. Now let's talk about another sector that was also spun out to become its own category, real estate. As the Motley Fool points out, this used to be tucked away inside the financial sector. But now it's its own continent, covering industries like real estate development and these special companies called equity REITs. Examples include American Tower, which owns cell towers, and Simon Property Group, which owns and operates shopping malls. All right, we've reached our final destination, the foundational sectors. Think of these as the absolute bedrock of the entire economy. They provide the money, the raw materials, the heavy equipment, and the fuel that make pretty much everything else possible. The foundation starts with the financial sector. This is the world of money. It covers industries like banks, insurance, and capital markets. You've got titans like Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway in insurance and investments, and of course, JP Morgan Chase in banking. And it's still changing. Marquette Associates reports that just in 2023, giants like Visa and MasterCard were moved here from the tech sector.
Next in the foundation is the industrial sector. This is all about making and moving big stuff. Its industries are everything from transportation, like airlines and railroads, to heavy hitters like aerospace and defense and machinery. This is where you'll find logistics kings like UPS and major defense contractors like RTX.
The materials sector provides the literal building blocks for almost every other industry. If it's a raw material, it probably lives here. Industries include chemicals, construction materials, mining, and even paper and forest products. You've got companies like Sherwin-Williams in specialty chemicals, making paints and coatings, or the iconic chemical company DuPont.
And rounding out our foundation is the energy sector. This is all about the fuel that powers the global economy. It's dominated by industries like oil and gas exploration and production. The companies here are some of the biggest in the world, names you definitely know, like ExxonMobil and Chevron.
Phew! Okay, so we've explored the entire map of the stock market. But the big question is, why does any of this actually matter? How can you use this map as a real-world tool? This is why it matters. Take a look at this chart. Based on historical data from Visual Capitalist, it shows that sectors can perform wildly differently. In this particular quarter, the broader market, the S&P 500, was actually down. But look, the foundational energy sector and the defensive healthcare sector were both up, and by a lot. This proves the market isn't just one big blob. Knowing the sectors helps you see the different currents and tells you where the strength is, especially when the economic weather changes. So, now you've got the map. You know how to read it. You can see how the entire global market is laid out, from huge continents all the way down to specific countries. The only question left is, which part of the market are you going to explore first?